You know the Russo brothers, the guys who directed this Endgame and everything, they're from Ohio. You know that?
Really?
Yeah, they came to their hometown. Now the cool thing about this, why I'm mentioning it, is because they filmed this very sequence in Cleveland, Ohio. We're recreating this sequence in Cleveland, Ohio.
The number one thing you should do is film.
We've seen 3 takes 16, DLJ 7.6 points.
We didn't have resources to film a real highway. We did have a cul-de-sac street all to ourselves where no one would be watching what we were doing. Really funny when cars would go by and be like, oh hey Mr. Joe, oh don't mind me with this rifle and whatnot and this mask. I'm just filming a movie.
Cap was definitely a lot more difficult than Spider-Man, in my opinion. It wasn't physical, it was just the fact that there was just so many different camera angles.
I had these shoes on, and we actually had a casualty on set.
Casualties.
We have some casualties, folks.
Pop! I looked down, one of my shoes just like completely split apart and shattered. I went and got some boots. But the big thing was, we filmed our first day on the hottest day of the year.
Temperature over 100.
John and Mike, we were hogging down water. Like, we ended up having 16 bottles of water fully drained by the end of that day when we came in.
You're looking at Thor, oh, this is much better when you turn back. Like, the costume's a bit much. And you look back at him, so tight.
Our original trio was John was Cap, Mike was Iron Man, and I was Thor.
Action. Oh, this is much better.
After Iron Man 3, Mike left. I can play Iron Man pretty well, so I can take over that role, but I can't play Iron Man and Thor.
So I met Dustin working on another project down in Columbus. It's a superhero-based comedy. He reached out to me and asked if I could be Thor for him. Filmed all day. It was a good take.
Jake and John have actually never met because we filmed their days separate. So even though you see them in the scenes and they got great chemistry and they're acting alongside each other, they actually never filmed a single scene together.
From what I've seen, he looks like he's probably a pretty good fit. I can't wait to see our scenes that are together.
One of my favorite visual effects from the entire show is Thor's cloak. It was actually Doctor Strange's cloak of levitation wrapped around Jacob backwards. What we did in post was we colored the red cloak gray. It took quite a while, a lot of masking tools, and color grading, and a lot of hours editing. When you look at it, you can't even tell it was initially red.
Pillars are going by, so I can intercut you between pillars.
Okay.
So what we're just going to do is, oh, this is much better. Costume's a bit much. So tight, and then we'll cut.
Originally I had these background plates. Also we drove an ATV, and the idea was we were going to put our Captain America, John, on top of the footage of me driving the ATV and him driving the ATV. We had a couple problems with this approach. One, the fall, and it was not the winter, so there was no snow in the backgrounds, which was a big problem. The other thing was that when we tried to track Captain America on top of the ATV, it looked like he was just floating on top of the background. We ended up having to build up the scene creation from scratch, using stock footage of snowy forests, an image of a motorcycle, some light flares and visual effects, and John. We used the footage that we had of the ATV as reference footage so we could get the look of him driving the motorcycle downright. So a lot of zooms and motion blur and whatnot to make it actually look like he's riding a motorcycle. So we shot a plate over his hammer, Linor, the prop, separate. We keyed it out of its blue screen, put a motion blur effect on it, flying around, hitting the soldiers as they go down. So there's a shot where he's riding a bicycle with a shield strapped to his back. And we're trying to figure out how to do that. But what John did, what he did was he grabbed his belt and he strapped that around his shoulder through the shield loop and connected it. And that's how the shield is behind him in that scene creation. That scene creation is actually one of my favorites because you get to see Jake, myself as Hawkeye, and John as Cap all interact with each other as a team.
Playing Thor is very interesting because we're shooting with the green screen, right? So there's nothing there, or I guess a blue screen. So you have to kind of in your head imagine things. And it was cool, like imagining myself being a lot stronger than, a normal human. And that really was the most interesting part of it. And I think also screaming out loud when no one else is around was also very interesting.
3 different costumes put together. You have the Ant-Man costume with the Ant-Man shirt and the Ant-Man mask. And then we used Iron Man gloves backwards, and then using Hawkeye's pants for that. So we had real water in the background place, trying to get the water to go more intense and higher and higher and higher. No matter where we got it, it just wasn't as intense as it should have been. So what we ended up doing was we added CGI rushing water on top of the real water, blended together. So you can't really tell the difference. Final element is the footage of Ant-Man on the blue screen, practically. When the water's rushing and taking him up into the air, we used a stool, old-fashioned, put the blue screen on the stool, and I acted like I was just about to get thrown out of the tub. The nice thing about Spider-Man, the suit is nylon cloth. Zipped in, you're completely suited in.
It definitely tested my flexibility and how long I could hold the poses for Spider-Man. I don't want to do anything to besmirch the character.
He was born for the role. It really shows John's talent as he is portraying two different characters and pitting two different characters against each other.
I just love Spider-Man ever since I was a kid. Favorite hero in general.
This scene creation, we wanted it to be even more impactful, so we added camera shakes. So we used 3D objects for this scene creation. Then we duplicated that 3D object on top of another 3D object. We also added a drop shadow.
Well, he's also relatable because he's a young guy that doesn't really fit in, but has all these gifts, and he's just trying to be that neighborhood-friendly Spider-Man.
There's going to be a visual effects heavy recreation. Looking at it, you see planets and sparks on the ground, a monster talking. Just looked incredibly intimidating. The next level with this recreation by adding colored gradients that really gave it a feel where inside was Dormammu, mystical, dimension-like world. Visually, we're going to use these Venom visual effects to make it look just like Dormammu. And it just didn't look right at all. We even added alien eyes and whatnot, but it just didn't look like Dormammu. You couldn't really tell he was talking. We actually ended up crafting this 3D model of a skull and color grading it to make it look good and adding our own alien eyes, add a glow of the eye of Agamotto into Dormammu's eyes. Then we got this tentacle visual effects. It's all creepy. That was the way you could tell he was talking. 3D camera work. It's planets and galaxies, dimensions go past him as he's talking to Dormammu.
And Barnett played Ego in this scene recreation. He had just finished filming Curse of Briarstone, which is a film on Amazon Video. It also main stars Elliot Crime, who's a big supporter of MRU as well. The interesting thing about Brian is that he's never seen a single Marvel movie.
Actually, it's probably the most exciting part about making film or being part of theater because of the different costumes and the different settings and even the different people. But I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Brian brought a lot of humanity and integrity to the role of Ego. You really feel that he believes what he is saying and that he is convinced this is the only way to go about with his plan.
Dustin is pretty easygoing. He knows he's got great vision and he knows what he wants his actors and actresses to do. Very patient, and that I appreciate.
For the visual effects in this, we used light flares onto Star-Lord's eyes. Colored them blue, and then we blurred the background behind him to get the effect Star-Lord realizes what Ego did.
The amount of visual effects works. It would take to pull this off, it's going to leave people wondering, how are they going to pull off the next episode?
This is when everything went wrong. Preparing to film our Spider-Man Homecoming scene recreation, when all of a sudden, all our actors from our Battle for New York scene recreation, except for John, left the production. It was starting to look like John was not going to be a part of the production as well. So as a backup, we filmed this scene where I play Tony Stark and Spider-Man at the same time. At that point, we weren't sure what was going to happen with the production. We took Tony and Spider-Man out of their blue screen. Since they were so close to each other, there was some fuzz, so we used some masks to get rid of the fuzz. This is a special scene recreation. It's the only scene recreation where me and John act alongside each other in front of the blue screen. All our other recreations, we filmed our scenes separate. And that really added an extra layer of believability to our performances, and it really felt like this is a very tense situation Spider-Man's in.
We've had to jump through hoops to get this done. Trying to hold back my language right now. We hired people, then quit. Mike quit. Lachey, Greg, Blair. Definitely interesting being the only original member besides Dustin.
Used a green face paint on Jake's face. And the idea was going to color grade the green paint red in post, so it looked like the scene. When we got into the post-production phase, and we looked at how much effort and time it would have taken to color grade the paint red, it would have taken more time than the entire scene recreation altogether. We used stock footage of an old Coliseum. We hue changed that blue, added some light flares, where it looks like there are a lot of spectators around, and then we added a concrete grayish background, the way it felt more like Sakar. Aaron Fraser Nash's Marvel songs, Nerd Out's Marvel songs, ambient mixes and productive music mixes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe helped MRU stay focused, grounded, motivated, and in the Marvel world as we were filming or editing these recreations to remind us what great movies we were recreating scenes from and to live up to them.
What interested me most, I think, was getting the chance to play a superhero. You grow up thinking that superheroes are awesome and playing in the backyard, you know, and so it was a cool opportunity to actually give it a shot on camera and see what it would look like.
Every piece of John's face that gets disintegrated was hand animated. How we did it was we cut out a piece in his face, and then we duplicated that mask and cut out the exact same shape on the background. The way it looks like all these pieces of his face are just disintegrating, leaving nothing but the background behind him on Titan. We filmed this scene recreation outside, and we had a very limited window because it was just about to rain, so we shot this scene very quickly. Within about 20 minutes or so, and you could feel the raindrops starting to fall as we headed back inside. We just finished in time. Originally, we had some Black Panther footage here, but Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away, and it was decided to cut all the Black Panther footage in our recreations to honor him.
Now, you may not have actually been able to hold Stormbreaker, the real model, or a replica of it, but your Funko Pop certainly does.
Alrighty, fantastic.
Once we had the footage coming in of our Ant-Man cosplayer, we realized that the quality of my acting as Sonny Butch was not going to cut it to go alongside Noah's professional cosplaying. So Peter Lindell joined the project. He filmed his stuff from Minnesota, and then he filmed a plate of the briefcase he was using as well, the way we could put it into Ant-Man's hand. Big thing that happened in this scene recreation. David Dastmalchian, who plays Kurt in the Ant-Man films, liked our scene recreation on Twitter. Since you don't see Ant-Man ever take off his helmet, as an option, I asked if he could film a cameo, and he also put in an Easter egg into this recreation. He's wearing an Into the Spider-Verse shirt. We added some water dripping down from Ant-Man's helmet as he comes up from the water. Our Ant-Man scene recreations, they both have a common theme that they both involve water. This was not planned, but they connect really well because they have this theme of water uniting them both Nick Fury and Captain Marvel. They're a husband and wife team. Brian Robison, who plays Phil Coulson in this, and he's met Clark Gregg at the world premiere. So to put Robison's footage the way it looks like he's in the practical world of Captain Marvel and Nick Fury, we took an image of the section behind Captain Marvel and Nick Fury, and then we flipped it around the way it looks like he's standing above another flight of stairs. We used a light flare orange, and we brought the opacity up and down for Captain Marvel's effect on her hand. By the time of our Thor Ragnarok scene recreation, we were quite frustrated as the scene recreations were not quite the high quality we wanted them to be. We started contacting cosplayers to join our recreations. Our cosplayers started filming themselves in front of green screens or blue screens or white screens. There's the wind blowing her clothes as she lands to help the other Avengers. She actually had a couple of assistants help her. One was blowing a blow dryer on her to make it look like it was in the wind as she's standing in front of this background. She had another assistant helping with that as well. Different visual effects artists from all over the world handled every single shot in this sequence, except for the assemble shot. That shot required a lot of hours of work and was way too much to ask for visual effects artists to do. I did that shot, and we looked at who was the furthest back, who was behind everybody else, and then we just put the first guy, who was Bucky, he's behind everybody else. We put him in there, behind the Avengers, and then we just layered him. Okay, Wanda's next, she's the next one behind, and then we just placed each Avenger into that sequence all the way to the front. Donato did the Wakanda warrior shot. He duplicated our Wakanda warrior cosplayer, Sheba, into multiple versions of herself. So Sheba filmed 3 different takes of her, and Donato duplicated all 3 of those takes to make it look like there were quite a few more warriors there at the sequence. And he added the city in the background. He gave the effect a nice color grade. But you could see the back of his face while he's filming the footage of him coming out of the portal with Spider-Man in front of a mirror. We cut out, frame by frame, from the mirror, flipped him around, and then put him into the assemble shot. And you can't even tell the difference, he just looks like he's with the Avengers. Zach Allen Productions joined the project. He took on the Iron Man snap scene when we filmed the background plates. The idea was that the Iron Man snap scene and the Avengers assemble scene were 2 different recreations. The idea was that they were going to look a little bit different in tone and in style. So we were going to have the Avengers assemble from background plates we filmed, and then we were going to have the Iron Man snap based on stock footage. When we looked at merging the 2 recreations together, we didn't have any background plates for the Iron Man snap. We took a 3-second clip that looked about right for the Iron Man snap of background plate. So it's the same 3 seconds going by, switching back between going forward in time and backward in time, that makes it look like one seamless regular shot behind Iron Man. Zach, he did a great job adding a nice color grade to Iron Man. Gaming cosplayer performed Deadpool. He loved the script, he went and filmed it, and he gave us 2 different versions of Deadpool going through this scenario when he filmed it. And he memorized all the lines, and he just filmed it straight through. That entire sequence of Deadpool is 1 take. That's him interacting with our Deadpool voice actor. Our Deadpool voice actor came and he just knocked it out of the park. The extra touch that made this recreation even better. This was John's final scene recreation as Spider-Man. So we pushed John emotionally and mentally farther than he had ever gone before to really get into the emotional depth of the realization of what the betrayal of Mysterio has done to this character. And it was the most hard-working and mental acting John's ever done.
And you want to make sure he actually is dying. And he just got the glasses back. And very sad and solaced. Your glasses, taking them off was way too quick.
Yeah.
We used stock footage of a bridge, added some fire effects, and destroyed drones around Mysterio.
I know it got subconsciously got to people, but basically, why we picked the final scene, Far From Home, where it says because people didn't believe, now to believe anything, was actually to have. If you could think of the wildest thing that could possibly happen with recreations, it would be to get Dustin McLean, award-winning director and producer, to actually play a character in the recreation series, because he oversees channels with billions of views collectively. So to get him on there would be like the biggest thing you could possibly think of at the time. If we could do that, then people would believe we could really pull off anything.
People, they need to believe. And nowadays, they'll believe anything.
So to get him to say those very words, it's kind of like Spider-Man's asking the audience, or Spider-Man's asking us, why did you make the armor you? And we're Mysterio saying, because people didn't believe, how to believe anything. And to have him say those very words, it all just comes full circle.
Thank you so much.
It feels great, but at the same time leaves me wanting more. Can't wait to see what's next.